Hey, welcome back to the Ping Pong Flix Show. My name is Chris Wong. This is episode 400 of the Ping Pong Flix Show, which is pretty fitting because there is some major development within Warner Brothers, Warner Media Group involving J.J. Abrams. But first, let's go and take a look at Joker for a little bit. This is coming from Variety. Box office, Joker eyes hefty 80 million plus debut. Warner Brothers' The Joker, an origin story about the notorious Batman villain, is shaping up to be a big hit despite being one of the darkest mainstream movies to hit screens in years. The film is on pace to debut to a sizable $76 million to $88 million when it hits theaters on October 4th, according to early tracking. Some executives believe those numbers are very inflated because the film is so unconventional and has characteristics that could alienate fanboys and fangirls as well as more mainstream crowds. Warner Brothers believes the darker thriller could launch in the $50 million to $55 million range. Although, because the movie is so different from standard comic book fare, Warner Brothers kept costs low. Most Batman adaptations cost more than $150 million to produce, but Joker reportedly totaled $55 million in production costs. That means that an opening above $50 million would position the film to make back that money as well as recoup its. That means that an opening above $50 million could reposition the film to make back that money as well as recoup its marketing and distribution costs. Really need to up the box office here for Warner Brothers. It hasn't been that great for major properties so far, including Detective Pikachu, Godzilla, Shazam, even though that made a ton of money because of its lower budget. But in any case, it hasn't been a very big win for Warner Brothers this year, coming off from an incredible last year, especially ending last year with Aquaman with $1 billion, right? So it's not looking too good for the box office, but when you look at in a single movie like Joker that was made for $55 million, double that for marketing and stuff like that. So essentially, if this movie comes in at $70 to $80 million opening weekend, some people even reported saying that this could definitely get into the $100 million range, then this movie will definitely make its money back. And it seems like people are pretty excited for it. I mean, not everybody. We still get those weird people who are saying things like they want a more fun. Joker is supposed to be a fun movie, not an evil character. And I'm like, do you know who Joker is? I mean, this is not a clown. It is a clown, but he's not there to crack jokes. And if he does, he's there to kill. It's a murderous clown. It's a villain. Oh my God. So a lot of these Twitter comments and things like that, it just racks my brain. I have no idea where these people are coming from. I don't know why the total hate for DC films in general. It just does not make sense. But I am pretty excited for this movie. It is the only DC film this year, so if you're into DC films, you gotta be pretty excited. But seeing and hearing that this is different than anything that anybody has ever seen before, I am pretty intrigued to go out and watch this movie, probably by myself. So I'm really looking forward to this movie when it comes out on October 4th. But that's not the only thing that Warner Media has been reporting to the trades. This just came out today, and to the fact that even Warner Media themselves had put out a press release regarding this. Warner Media and Bad Robot Productions form wide-ranging content collaboration agreement. An exclusive relationship establishes Warner Media as Robot's home for television, theatrical motion pictures, games, digital content, and more. Now, this is being reported everywhere. Deadline, Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, everybody is talking about this because we've been talking about for J.J. Abrams and Katie McGrath have been trying to sign a major big deal with John Stankey and Warner Media Group, and they really want Bad Robots to be at home at Warner Media with Warner Brothers producing content for them. Finally, it's been official today. This is the press release I'm going to read to you right here. Bad Robot Chairman and CEO J.J. Abrams and co-CEO Katie McGrath, along with AT&T President and Chief Operating Officer and CEO Warner Media John Stankey, today announced that Warner Media and Bad Robot have formed a strategic relationship to create original projects for television, theatrical motion pictures, games, and digital platforms. The wide-ranging agreement commences immediately and initially runs through 2024. Per company practice, financial terms were not disclosed, although we've been hearing it's like 250 to like 500 million. Warner Media and AT&T are delighted to launch a long-term collaboration with our world-class partners and colleagues, J.J. Abrams and Katie McGrath. We are extremely excited about the potential to deliver remarkable and memorable stories and characters across multiple platforms to audiences around the world. JJ, Katie, and all of Bad Robot bring extraordinary vision, exquisite filmmaking, and exemplary industry leadership to this endeavor and our company, said John Stankey. Across all forms of content, we are uniquely positioned to offer our creative partners a multitude of platforms to realize their artistic goals and ambitions to ensure that their stories have the best possible opportunity to connect with the right audience. Stankey continued, I'd also like to recognize the leadership of Warner Brothers Television Group President and Chief Content Officer Peter Roth, who has known JJ and Katie for many years and developed opportunities that turned into a long-standing, mutually beneficial partnership, which will now flourish for many years in the future across the entire Warner Media and AT&T family. Now, it's been said in other articles that this relationship, this new agreement, is going to be about 5 years. I don't see them stating it here, but here's continues. This new agreement builds on a highly successful 13-year relationship between Abrams and Warner Brothers that began in 2006. When Bad Robot entered into an exclusive overall deal for television with Warner Brothers Television Group, Bad Robot and Warner Brothers Television Group subsequently renewed the television component in 2012 and 2015. J.J. Abrams stated, it is a thrill for Katie, Brian Weinstein, and me, and the rest of our team at Bad Robot to call Warner Media our company's new home. John Stankey has a powerful vision for the future of Warner Media and is committed to storytelling that connects people around the world. We are excited and gratified to be a part of this new chapter under his and Ann Sarnoff's thoughtful leadership. I could go on for hours and probably will about the extraordinary Peter Roth and the entire Warner's television group with whom we've worked for over a decade. And I've wanted to collaborate with Toby Emmerich and his team for as long as I can remember. I am grateful for the chance to write, produce, and direct work for this incredible company and to help create films and series with a diverse and vast collection of inspiring storytellers. We can't wait to get started. As part of the collaboration, Bad Robots will continue to develop and produce new television projects, including dramas, comedies, long-form event series, digital content, and more for all platforms, including premium pay and basic cable networks, on-demand streaming services, and the broadcast networks. These include Warner Media affiliated networks and platforms such as HBO, HBO Max, and more, as well as external outlets. Bad Robot series will continue to be produced in association with Warner Brothers Television, Warner Horizon Scripted Television, or Warner Brothers Television Group's digital studio Blue Ribbon content with Warner Brothers International Television Distribution, distributing the shows around the world. Under terms of the new agreement, Abrams and Bad Robot will now also develop original theatrical films for the divisions of the Warner Brothers Pictures Group, including Warner Brothers Pictures and New Line Cinema. Bad Robot will honor existing obligations to Paramount Pictures, and J.J. Abrams is directing and producing the release of The Rise of Skywalker, the final installment of the Star Wars Skywalker saga. In 2018, Bad Robot formed a video game development division, Bad Robot Games, in association with Tencent and Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment, and the companies will continue to work together on the creation of new large and indie consumer games for mobile, PC, and console. During its creative collaboration with Warner Brothers Television Group, Bad Robot has produced a number of acclaimed hit series, including Fringe, Person of Interest, Westworld, Castle Rock, and etc., etc., etc. So that is what has been announced today. He's finally found a new home at Warner Brothers, and looking at this press release, there is a ton of things he's going to be involved in. Now, this is cool because if he gets involved within DC in itself, right? If he gets, because it literally says there, he's going through all divisions. He's taking over, he's going to be involved in lots and lots of different divisions of it, and they're going to look to him to kind of maybe shepherd this whole thing. And so if a lot of those things that he's going to be shepherding is DC content, then it could spread out to HBO Max. We could have all these external outlets. We could have all these different types of series, expanding the DC lore even further than what we have now in film, than what we have now on CW TV. In fact, going even further as to creating content that's original, doesn't have to connect to anything. Imagine a content that's like Joker. Imagine content that's like Zack Snyder's stuff, and having their own platform. Or even if it's on the same platform, having more content for that. And I think that is essentially what Ann Sarnoff's goal was. And that's why she was brought on to BBC and all these her resume. It holds her that she is the one, that her goal here is to bring more content to John Stankey, who has gained this company in order to do that. They want more stuff. They want more stuff to show. And with more stuff to show, that means variety. They can't have the same type of stuff because that just goes for, it's just good for one type of crowd. They need to have a variety of content so that it can be given or entertain different types of crowds. So I think this is a good thing that Bad Robot is going to be particularly being part of the television projects and things like that. So I'm really looking forward to that as well. And of course, HBO Max, streaming, I don't know, Snyder Cut, who knows, right? But we'll see about that. But the biggest thing here is his involvement in the theatrical part of the whole deal. And as you know, you're maybe like, well, it doesn't mean he's going to be part of DC. I really do think he will be, because DC is a big component. It's a big giant licensed property that Warner Brothers own. They are not just not going to let him take a shot at that. They are definitely going to let him take a shot at that. JJ's definitely going to want to take a shot at that. That is something that is probably a given at this point by now. I truly 100% expect him to take a shot at DC in some form or the other, whether it be writing for it, whether it be actually producing or even directing for it. I truly expect him to do that. And I expect him to be part of the more blockbuster blockbuster type of movie, the one that's going to fill the theater seats, be that $1 billion box office. They're intentionally putting him in that market. So JJ is going to be put in that market, which means he's going to be involved in bigger characters. He's going to be involved in the core characters of DC. Those big name characters like Superman, not Batman right now, but like Superman, possibly even Green Lantern, things that will probably be around his wheelhouse. And that's something we should be pretty excited for in terms of that. And I think even when people are maybe looking at this as he want to collaborate with Toby Emmerich, of course he's going to say that. I don't know if they have any blood between each other, but I know for a fact that J.J. Abrams has worked with Chris Terrio, and of course Chris Terrio is going to kind of come in and says, about that Toby Emmerich guy, about what happened to Zack Snyder. Of course, J.J. Abrams already knows that, or is going to know that, or in the process of trying to do something about it. Does that mean he's going to bring Zack Snyder in? I don't know. I don't think so. But I think he's going to be very much on his toes. But without having to be there, because he's that one director, like I've been saying, that has one thing that a lot of directors don't. And he has that final cut authority. He has that power. Meaning, in the director guilds, whatever, the final cut authority, sometimes, even though it's a director involved in it, the final cut authority, most of the time, even I've heard, like 90% of the time, has the producer on there. It doesn't have the director's name on it. But like big filmmakers like Steven Spielberg and James Cameron and J.J. Abrams, their name is on that final cut authority. Meaning Toby Emmerich and anybody else can't tell him what to do after he's made his movie. If J.J. Abrams want this cut to be shown, that cut's going to be shown. They can't push him around. And that's a great thing, because J.J. Abrams is literally the ideal director-driven model that you see right there. I wish other directors could have that director-driven model, and maybe one day in studio in Hollywood it would ever get to that point. But right now, big-name directors do have that, and J.J. Abrams is one of those directors. And so for him to collaborate with Toby Emmerich, it's almost kind of funny. Like when you hear that, for me, and I'm just being snarky here, okay? For me, when he says, I've wanted to collaborate with, Toby Emmerich and with his team for as long as I can remember, because of what stuff I've heard about him and what they've done to other directors. It's my turn. Let's see what you got. That to me, that sounds, it feels like what he would be saying in my mind in any case. And, you never know. Maybe he is pretty good with him and positive. And, of course, this is a press release. This is a statement. They're not going to burn bridges. They're not going to talk down on anybody. They're gonna praise the hell out of anybody that's in the company right now, right? It's behind the scenes that's different, and that's the thing that interests me a lot. We'll never see what happens behind the scenes, but hopefully we'll get to see the true nature of the new DC, of this new venture, through his movies, through his TV, through the games, through the content that J.J. Abrams and Bad Robot puts out. Now, if you're wondering if J.J. Abrams plays on the safe side, especially when it comes to giant properties like, Superman, which is the biggest property for me, then let's just take a look at real quick to what he had in mind for Superman Flyby. I'm going to read. This is off on Wikipedia, so you can search this for yourself. But and this doesn't mean that this is the type of movie that he's going to tap in. This is back in July of 2002. His early script. He would make changes here and there. This was before Superman Returns and such. So just take this a grain of salt. But when you read this, you can appreciate that he was trying to do something different. He wasn't trying to be another Donner film. He wasn't going nostalgia route in any case. In fact, he went pretty much out there. And actually, when you read this, I'm going to read it to you. Zack Snyder actually played it safe compared to what J.J. Abrams was going to do. But we want these directors to go far out. Do what it takes to create your story. Do different iterations on it. Don't have to go back and just cater to nostalgia all the time. That we can never move ahead and we can never see different iterations of that character, right? So I'm going to read this to you. Turning in his script in July of 2002, J.J. Abrams' Superman Flyby was an origin story that included Krypton besieged by a civil war between Jor-El and his corrupt brother, Kata-Zor, before Kata-Zor sentences Jor-El to prison. Kal-El is launched to Earth to fulfill a prophecy. Adopted by Jonathan and Martha Kent, he forms a romance with Lois Lane in the Daily Planet. However, Lois Lane is more concerned with exposing Lex Luthor, written as a government agent obsessed with UFO phenomena. Clark reveals himself to the world as Superman, bringing Kata-Zor's son Ty-Zor and 3 other Kryptonians to Earth. Superman is defeated and killed and visits Jor-El, who committed suicide on Krypton while in prison in Kryptonian heaven. Resurrected, he returns to Earth and defeats the 4 Kryptonians. The script ends with Superman flying off to Krypton in a spaceship. Now that doesn't sound that great. It sounds pretty weird and totally out there, right? Totally. I totally understand. Superman Lives also was pretty much out there as well. It was during the time in the early 2000s, they were going off in crazy tangents, and J.J. Abrams was exploring different sci-fi and stuff like that. And it just seems outrageous and crazy. But you know what? They didn't play it safe. He didn't play it safe. Eventually, they played it after Brett Ratner and McGee and everything. They eventually played it safe with Bryan Singer and brought out a very boring Superman Returns. Even though I enjoyed it, very boring Superman Returns. And then we finally had to get into Man of Steel, which went towards not really quite to the craziness of Superman Flyby, but it kind of tapped a little bit into that with trying to keep some of that. Very little, but some little bit of nostalgia in there. But for the most part, Zack Snyder did his own thing. J.J. Abrams is going to do his own thing. He may come in and try to do some of that nostalgia with Star Trek and with Star Wars as well. And I think he'll probably play on the safe side, but for the most part, he's probably not going to cater nostalgia, right? He's probably not going to go there. And I think he understands that even though they'll play into some nostalgia, he's ready to move forward, ready to do new things with that property. So I think this is a great thing. J.J. Abrams and Bad Robot Productions coming in, shepherding the DCEU into a incredible bigger direction and driving excitement for the general mass, and also in a way pleasing us DCEU fans who want something different, maybe something grittier, maybe something not totally darker, but something that is not totally hell-bent on nostalgia, not playing it safe, and going to a direction that we could maybe all appreciate, and could shepherd in new other directors and new other production companies to come in and play a role in this new DCEU. And who knows? Who knows? Maybe even Zack Snyder would find that the environment at Warner Brothers is a much friendlier, more director-driven studio once again. That it will, encourage him to actually want to come back in and produce and make something for the DCEU. All right, guys. Well, that is it for tonight. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.